Hey, it's Marty here, and I've got the second part of last night's PHP Melbourne Statamic takeover. So I've just flown back from Melbourne today, and there were some technical issues with last night's recording of this talk. So wanting to go through it again because I think there's a lot of really valuable information here that I wanted to share with you. So this site that we've built in the first part of last night's session, we're going to continue playing with, and what we want to do is start extending what we can do. And this is to, I guess this part of it is to try to get you to think, give you some ideas, I guess, plant some seeds, this thing called Leaf. Plant some seeds to give you ideas of how you could apply this for different problems that you're trying to solve for your clients and where this can fit in. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start playing around with Livewire on the public side of our site. So let's just jump back over to Statamic, and we're going to go to our, what should we do? How it works. Let's go to our How It Works page. Okay. We want to add some blocks here. Actually, before we do that, let's go to our page builder. And we're going to add a new set. So we're going to call this seed submission. Okay, let's give it an icon. There's a leaf, I think. There we go. Let's use the leaf. Cool, let's add that. We don't want to add any fields because we actually don't want to be working in Statamic right now. Statamic's still the backend that we've got, that's fine, but we actually don't want to be managing that through the CP yet. Cool. We can now go back to How It Works, and we can add, let's just add a content block. Let's get some submissions. Okay, that's what we're going to do, and add our seed submission block. Save that, jump to our How It Works page, and remember we need to build this page out. So in our page builder, let's open that up and go seed submission.antlers.html. Let's just go submit a seed. Okay, cool. There we go. We've got it ready to go. Let's give it some styles. Class equals BG green. Let's go, we'll just go 100. PY16. And we can also use our partial again here to bring everything in. So partial block. There we go. How cool is that? Easy. Let's make that a little bit narrower. Remember, we've got that breakpoint that we can pass in. So breakpoint equals max width. Breakpoint, what did we do? SM, I think. Must be MD. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's at least now lining up with our text, so that's good. Cool, so what we want to do here is we now want to replace this with a Livewire component. So a couple of things we've got to do. Now, as I'm working with Statamic 6 Alpha, the two add-ons that we're also using in this particular playground are currently both in alpha as well. One is for Livewire, and the other one, we'll get to the other one. So first of all, for Livewire, in our head tag, just like we would do if we're building a Laravel app, we need Livewire styles at the top, and down the bottom, we got Livewire scripts. Okay, cool. Hey, Livewire is up and ready to go. So I've already installed those add-ons, but we just need to add those to our layout file and we're good to go. So let's create a Livewire component, and we're going to call this seed submission. Lovely. Okay, so this has now created our Livewire file. Let's just jump over there now and say ready to submit in Livewire. Over in Antlers world, we can go S Livewire and then call seed submission and close that off. Jump back over, and there we go. We're now in Livewire world. So let's close this particular file down. Okay, so what are we going to need? What we want to do here is we want to collect the name of the person submitting it, and we want to get a seed from them. So that's what they're going to submit to us. So we're going to need a couple of public properties. So let's go public submitted by, and we're going to go public. We're going to call it name. Okay, got our two fields. Easy so far, hey? Let's go here, back over to our Livewire component. We're going to create a form. Within our form, we're going to create, hang on, what am I doing? Oh, that'll work. Let's go label. For submitted by, what is your name? And then we're going to have an input field. So let's go input, ID equals submitted by. Okay, cool. What have we got? Single field, can't see it. We need to add some styles. So let's go class BG white, border green, 500, rounded large, PX4, PY2. Oh, okay, we're typing that a lot, aren't we? Let's make our labels pretty as well. Class equals text XS, font bold, and uppercase. How's that going to look? Uppercase. There we go. I reckon they need some space. So let's just do an MB2. Inline block. There we go. Cool. There's one field done. Easy. Let's just copy that over because we want to have a second field. And this is going to be, what is your seed? So this is now going to be for name. Lovely. Okay. First of all, let's make this be class equals grid, grid cols 3, gap x 6. Oh, typing's going. Gap y 4. Okay. And we want to make this be class col span 2, just to get everything organized. And we want to make sure our inputs are actually filling the container that they're in. Otherwise, we can get some overlapping. Hey, there we go. Name, seed. Beautiful. We need one more thing. Buttons. Let's go div class equals col span 3. Let's go text right, because we want to make this right aligned. Cool, we need a button. Now remember, we've already created a button, haven't we? S partial components dot button. We want this to be submit seed. Hey, there we've got our button ready to go. That's cool. We've got our hover, everything's there the way that we want, but there's a problem. That's still an anchor, not a button. And remember, we've had a look at these props before, so let's go type. Well, actually, we do want to type because we want to say this is a submit button, but the tag, we actually want it to be button. So let's jump back over to button partial. We're going to have tag default to an anchor, and type we want to default to button. Okay, so if tag equals button, we're going to do something. Otherwise, we're just going to fall back to our anchor tag. Okay, so what this means is that we can actually pull this out. Let's change this to be button. Get rid of our href, but we're going to put type equals, typing's gone, view type, and let's make that be view as well. There we go. Okay, how are we looking? Cool, we've gotten rid of that. That's now an actual button. Let's just inspect element and have a look. There we go, a button. Okay, we have our fields. Do we now need to wire something up? Now, before we actually get into that, I've got one little thing I'm just gonna pull across because this is a little nice to have. And I don't really want to type this live because I no doubt will get lots of things wrong. So here's one I prepared earlier. Let's copy, actually, let's just copy all of this over. Okay, paste that back in to our component. Let's pop you in here. Cool. Double check that that's all still working. Submit. Awesome. Lovely. We now need to wire this up. So the very first thing we're going to do, wire, submit, and we want this to then, well, go submit seed. Okay, it's easy. So let's jump back over and we'll create function, public function submit seed. Okay, essentially what I've just copied over, I haven't talked about it, I just did it, I just didn't tell you what I was doing. We've got, let's make this a little easier to read, this little action message that pops up. So in my Livewire apps, I have something like this because it's nice to have something appear and then disappear and we don't need to reload the page. So we're listening now here for this seeded event to come and it will say your seed has been planted. So let's just actually get that running. So this dispatch seeded. Oops, seeded. Okay, let's see what that's going to do. Refresh, submit. It appears and disappears. Beautiful. Okay, so we now have our Livewire component and it's doing something. We've got to wire everything up. So let's close our button. We don't need that now. Our input wire model equals, what's this one? Submitted by. And wire model, whoops, model equals name. Easy, done. Okay, so because we're good developers, yes, we're going to validate. We're going to skip that now. Validation's a whole other thing. Just know how to validate your data. It's a fairly basic thing for you to do, but remember to validate any information that comes through. The other thing we want to do is after we've finished, let's just reset the form. Easy as well, yeah? This is where we want to do something. So let's just have a look at what we get. Let's go this name. So if we just type in a seed name, let's go Apple and go submit. apple. So we know at least we're now getting the information that we need. That's cool. What we want to do, and so these examples that I'm going to show are fairly trivial and probably not the way you would approach things, but it illustrates the point and hopefully plants that seed to give you some ideas. So what we want to do is we want to get this information and we want to populate that within a collection within Statamic. But of course, on the front end, we don't have the control panel. So what we need to do is create a collection. We're going to call this seeds. Okay, let's configure our collection. Just because we don't need slugs, these are going to be really basic. So let's just save that and configure our blueprint. We can get rid of these fields. Now everything is going to need a title, and we actually want it to be called name, but the handle must be title. So you'll always need a title. So let's make that be, say, 66, and let's add another one, and we're going to call this submitted by. So that's again matching those properties that we had before, and we'll make that 33 so it comes in line. Beautiful. We've created our blueprint. We've created our collection. Now we need to populate that from our Livewire component. So let's get into this. Now we're going to create an entry, and Statamic gives us these facades that we can play with, which are great because we can go make. We want to say collection is going to be seeds. We're going to pass it some data. We'll get to that in a moment. And then we just want to save it. That's all we want to do. So we're going to have a title, because remember it's called a title for our entry. We want to use the name and submitted by. We're going to pass that through. Beautiful. Let's jump back to our site. So my name is Andy and I want an apple. Submit. It's been planted. Okay, well, let's go to our collection. What have we done? There we go, apple. We can actually configure our fields. Let's make sure we can see submitted by as well. So we can see Andy, apple and Andy. We can also say, what about Bobby wants banana? Submit. There we go. How cool is that? We now have, and because I double clicked there, we've got this blank one. Let's just get rid of that. Okay, apple and banana. We've got our two entries. How cool is that? Right, so that's one component that we've just created. Now, what if we then wanted to pull information from Statamic to display and add some Livewire interactivity? So let's create another component. Jump back to Storm. Let's go Livewire, and this is just going to be called seeds. We've got our new Livewire property. Now, remember what we had to do before? We needed to go to our page builder, and we needed to add a new set. So this is just going to be called seeds. Now I've already used the leaf. I wonder what we can use for this one. Maybe there's a nice list icon. There's lots that we can pick from. Oh yeah, we can pick one of these. Let's just go layout list. That makes sense, doesn't it? Cool. Apply, save, and okay, we've added that. Oh, and then we've got to actually add it to our page. Nothing wrong with me. I will just let you know that we're about to get a visitor. Well, I'm about to get a visitor from my cat who has missed me overnight. So that's the tail you can see there. So apologies for that, but hey, why not? His name's Zach, and if you ever have a video call with me, he will come and say hello at some point. He's very social. Anyway, let's get going. Okay, did we add that? Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Let's go back. We've got our seeds block. Let's go and refresh this. We're going to fail because we haven't added that yet. So let's just jump through our page builder. And we want to add underscore seeds.antlers.html. And basically just like we did here, let's just copy this over. We're going to make this be brown 500. We want to use the same breakpoint, but we're going to actually then pull in seeds instead. So NPM's going weird again. Let's reset that. There we go. Okay, we're ready now for our seeds. So first of all, what we want to do is jump back over to our seeds component, and we just want to really output that. So I'm going to create a computed component, computer property. Let's go public function seeds. And all we want to do is we actually now want to return. So remember, before I keep going, remember here we use this facade to actually then get, to create an entry. Well, we can use that same facade. So our entry facade, we can say query, and let's just get them. That's all we want to do, is we just want to return them. Okay, so if we jump back over here and if we go for each, this seeds as seed, we can then loop through. Sorry, I've now got a cat that wants to get involved and lick me. We'll get there. We'll get there. I don't have kids, I have cats, so is that a little bit different? Anyway, let's get going. Rightio, what do we want? We need a title, because we know we have a title with our seed. Okay, so remember though, we're now in Livewire mode. So there we go. Let's get that going. Cool. We've got all of these links and we've got these fruits. Now, you might be wondering, what have we done? We've just said entry, get all. Well, we have, but we forgot to mention what collection we wanted. So what we can do is add where conditions, where collection is seeds. Now, this is very similar to the way that Eloquent is going to work. And I think it's by design, so we can feel comfortable with it. But there are some things that Eloquent would do that you just can't do with the way that query builders work in Statamic. It's not a database in its strict sense. Remember, Statamic is flat file first. So while the syntax is very familiar, some of the advanced things that you would do in Eloquent, you won't be able to do with the query builders here. However, just to be able to pull things out, sort, filter, and whatnot. So hang on, there we go. Let's sort order by total. So these things are going to be really handy for you to be able to create queries and filter and get the content that you need. And while it is like Eloquent, it's not Eloquent. So just keep that in mind. We now want to get apple and banana. Now, I don't know about you, that's a little bit hard to read. So let's just make this be text white. There we go. That's a little easier. Okay, how about we add another one? Let's say Brenda, she wants some beetroot. Okay, submit. Cool. Refresh. We now have beetroot as well. What if we wanted to have a little index? What if we wanted to have a series of buttons that's one for each of the letters that we've got? So we just want to extract these letters. And this is kind of where we're actually going to run into a little bit of a problem, because if we approach this in Eloquent world, so SQLite, MySQL, we can do this through a query. But we can't really do that in the query builders in Statamic. It's just not the way that they're built. So I kind of feel for this particular use case, we've hit a bit of a brick wall. There are ways we could work around it, but for the point of what I want to show you, we're going to change our approach. So at the moment, all of these seeds have actually been created as entries within Statamic. But let's say we have part of a Laravel app, or we want to store these in a database. So let's just jump back over and we're going to create a new model and we're going to call it seed. Now, what do we have? We're going to have a name of the seed and we're going to have a submitted by. They're the two properties that we've got. So let's just create that. Yes, please create. And whoops, wrong file. That's not what I want. In the seed, here we go. Protected, fillable. We want name and submitted by. Okay, we've got our model ready to go. Now remember, we always need to run our migrations. PHP artisan migrate. Okay, if we jump back across, you can see we now have this seeds table. Yeah, we're ready to go. So let's just go back to our submissions. What we will do is we will turn this off. We'll get rid of that. And all we want to do is seed. Where are we? The model, create, and we're going to pass that array of properties over. Let's just copy you over. Okay, so we had Andy and an apple. Hey, what have we done here? Integrity constraint failed. Seeds.name. Did I miss a property? Fillable name, seeds name. What have I done wrong here? Oh, title, of course. Yeah, you know how I made that big deal before about the title? Well, we also need to make sure that we use name. Because that's what we've called it. Statamic wants to use a handle called title. It is one of the reserved keywords. Everything will need one. We've got name here. So let's try that again. Andy has an apple. Submit. Bobby had a banana. Okay, let's submit. And Brenda had a beetroot. Okay, submit. Let's just jump back over. Hey, there we go. We've got our data ready to go. I don't know, Carol has a carrot, just to show you that I'm not just, making things up. We've got our fourth there. And if we jump back to our seeds, we don't have carrot here. So you can see that it's doing what it's meant to do. Cool, so we're now able to pull that out. So where were we? We were here. We want to have our little buttons of each of our individual letters. Cool, couple of things. First of all, this is still coming out from, let's close seed submission. We don't need that at the moment. Go back to our seed. We don't need our model. Seeds, here we go. This is coming out of our facade for our entries. We don't want to actually be doing that now. We want to be pulling these out from our database. So what we want to do is return seed We want all of them. We're about to get another cat visitor again. You'll see a tail wander past. There we go. Okay, let's check that out. Why aren't we getting our seeds? We are pulling in our model. Well, we won't need you. Oh, because again, it's that title name thing. Probably not the best example to go from, hey, let's do this in Statamic and now let's migrate it to a database, because we're missing that title. Let's always remember to go back to name. But there we go, apple, banana, beetroot, carrot. So remember we got Carol's carrot. Cool, okay, we're now pulling from the database. What we now need to do, let's create another computed property. Computed, we want to get the letters. So public function, let's call it alphabet. Now, I'm not going to write this query because here's one I prepared earlier. Let's pull you across. Okay, bang. There we go. So what this is going to do is this is going to get from our seed model. Let's pull in our DB facade. It's going to pull out the first letter of every name, order by the letter, and just return that. So that's all we actually want to do. Return and jump back over here. Okay, let's just start doing some markup. Oh, helps if my typing works. Div. Okay, let's wrap you for each. Oh man, typing's really gone. It's Friday afternoon. Okay, let's get going. Div. Oh man, we're doing it again. Div. There we go. For each. So we have this alphabet as letter. End for each. Save. Okay, we want to create a button here. We want to output the letter. Let's just have a look and see what that's going to do. ABC, beautiful. Let's style these. Class equals BG, white, rounded large, PX4, PY2, font bold, text brown 500, hover, what should we do? BG brown 510. What's that going to do for us? Big buttons. Oh, that's a little bit too much, isn't it? Wonder if this is gone again. Nope. Okay. Let's try doing hover text brown 600. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, there we go. We've got our buttons. Let's add a little bit of space here as well. Let's go space Y6. Bingo. Cool. But you can see we're still only pulling out all of them. So let's change that. We are going to create a new public property here, public letter. And let's actually default that to nothing. Okay, so if we have a letter, let's loop through our seeds. Otherwise, please select a letter. Okay, class equals text XS. Let's see what we got. This letter. There we go, please select a letter. Okay, so we've got to pick one of these. Now this is going to be a button for us. First of all, let's actually just go through and update this. So again, we're getting all seeds and we don't want that. So let's just pull out, again, here's one I prepared earlier. All we want to do is where the name starts with the letter, let's just return it. That's what we actually want to get for our seeds. So the one last thing we need to do here is that now when we actually click on our button, so wire click, we're going to go update letter and letter. That's what we want to do. So let's go and write a function here. Public function update letter. We're going to pass it a letter and we're going to update the letter. Pretty straightforward. So the reason I've taken this out is that you could then also do other actions. So you might want to do more things. This is again a fairly trivial example, but this is where you would be able to update other properties or do something else that you might need to do. So let's go and select a letter. Apple, banana, beetroot, carrot. How cool is that? We now have this interactive component. From a nicety point of view, this is just me being me. There's one thing I really would like to do. Let's just go to Livewire. When we submit, we're dispatching this seeded event. So let's actually try and listen to that here. So let's go protected listeners. We are listening for seeded and let's refresh our component. Okay, what's this going to do? So let's just refresh our page, ready to go. Let's say, I don't know, Peter wants a pair. Submit. And look, it's updated automatically. We've got two components, but they're now talking to each other. And remember, we're actually just in a Statamic front-end website. This is just a straight front-end website. But now what we're able to do is we're now interacting with our back end. So if you've got some sort of user authentication, for example, and you want to start collecting information, we've had a look at how we can deal with that through storing them as entries within Statamic, as well as how we can store them as models within Eloquent too. But you might be wondering, well, if I'm storing it in Eloquent, what's the point of Statamic? Because I can't edit it anymore. And yes, that's true, you can't. But remember I said there was that second add-on. It's called Runway. This is a first-party add-on. So one thing I do want to do is PHP artisan vendor publish. I want the config file for Runway, so let's just search for that. Runway config. Okay, all I've done is install Runway, and I've just published the config file. That is literally all we have done. Let's jump back over to PHP Storm. Okay, go to config, Runway. What we want to do is we want to say for our seed model, let's just add it as a resource. The name is going to be seeds. Okay, cool. Let's just jump back over here, and we need to add a trait. So use has runway resource, and we're all good to go. Back in Statamic world, let's hit refresh, and we now have this seeds option. We can click on this, and this is now pulling our Eloquent model into Statamic, and it's created this interface for us. We can search, and we can only see the options that we need. We can clear our search, and away we go. We can click on it, and we can go to edit it. So what Runway is doing is it's allowing us to interface with Eloquent, but also we have blueprints. So if you've got more complex models, you can actually flesh out your blueprints to match the schema that you've got for your for your models. You can use the different field types, and Runway even comes with where are we? Belongs to, and has many, so you can map your relationships too. You can even do things like having an Eloquent model that has a relationship to entries. So for example, you could have a user and they could be authoring content and they could be listed as an author. So using these relationships, using these field types gives you a lot of control to be able to merge database with a flat file website. You can use Livewire if you're needing, interactivity without having to write that API backend yourself. But Runway just makes it so easy for us to bring these models into Statamic. The big advantage I think that we've got here is that if you're building a site for a client and all you need to do is have this one little section that's database powered, even flat file powered, but you want to give them the ability to edit something, suddenly Runway for the database side allows these models to come in. Maybe it could be an existing legacy system that you've got that you're building content around, or maybe it's you've got an API that's pulling data into a database from a third-party source that you then want to be able to manipulate. Using Runway opens up the potential of what you can do, and this is really that dip of the toe in the water, I guess, for how you can explore Laravel a lot more to really open up the flexibility of what Statamic has on offer, and that's where it gets really exciting. So while what we've looked at today here, creating these seeds, is a really trivial example, it shows how we can use Livewire. It shows how easy it is to create content programmatically within Laravel. It shows how we can pull that data out, and it shows how we can also use Eloquent and use our database models if we want to do that too. So hopefully this has given you some ideas for how you could apply these to your own projects as well. These add-ons, the Livewire add-on and Runway, are both in alpha for Statamic 6 as well. So as Statamic 6 nears closer to release, there will no doubt be finalized tagged versions compatible with 6 or fully ready for 6. But if you want to start having a play now, Statamic 6 Alpha is ready for you to install. You can use these add-ons as well. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. And I think that when you start building in Statamic, you might find patterns that you keep recreating the same thing. You can then extrapolate that out into an add-on for Statamic. That's basically just a Laravel package. You can easily go on the Statamic marketplace. You could make it public if you want other people to use it, or you could just make it private for yourself. But making these add-ons makes it really easy to reuse the functionality that you create. At Mity Digital, so where I'm the head code monkey, we have our own starter kit that we use. So whenever we're starting a new site, we've got some globals set up, we've got our navigation set up, ready to go. And these sorts of things can be real time savers to getting up and running, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel from a blank page every single time. But we've had a lot of fun recently with a site, interacting with Livewire, interacting with a database, as well as a huge amount of content. And it really does show just how powerful and how flexible Statamic can be. And it's now out there ready for you to have a play with. Even if you're running still on Statamic 5, there is a Livewire add-on, there is the Runway add-on. They're stable, ready for Statamic 5. So get out there, get playing, and see what you can do of how you can create this seamless experience for your content authors, for your users, and your entire ecosystem without you needing to create so many panels yourself. If you've got any queries, please reach out to me on socials, leave a comment below. I hope you found this useful. I hope it's given you some ideas, and I look forward to seeing you around next time. Thanks.